What death taught me about living fully. When I was younger, death was this faraway concept, something you avoid thinking about unless it shows up in a movie or at a funeral. But as the years passed, and as I stood by the hospital beds of friends, buried loved ones, and sat quietly with my own aging body, something changed. Death became less of a monster and more of a mirror. It started teaching me not about endings but about presence, about the difference between being alive and truly living. There is a subtle shift that occurs when you realize that time isn't promised. You stop rushing. You start noticing. You look up more often. You sit longer with your coffee. You listen deeper when someone speaks. You begin to understand that the ordinary is where life hides its magic. One of the most unexpected lessons death teaches is how fragile people are, and yet how strong love is. I've watched people pass and I've seen what remains. Not their money, not their achievements, not their appearance, but how they made others feel. That's the imprint. That's the legacy. We spend so much time trying to make something of ourselves when in the end what matters is how well we loved, how often we forgave, whether we gave people our attention while they were still here. Death taught me that presence is a rare gift, and it costs nothing but intention. When someone dies, you realize how many words you left unsaid, how many small moments you missed while waiting for the big ones. And the truth is, there are no big moments, there's just now. That's the real lesson. Now is all we ever get. Facing death also taught me the foolishness of waiting. We wait to be happy until we retire, wait to travel until we have more time, wait to say, I love you, until it feels safe. But if death is certain, why is life treated like it's endless? I used to think I had to earn joy, earn rest, earn peace, but watching others run out of time taught me that these things are not rewards, they're responsibilities. You are responsible for living your life while you have it. That doesn't mean being reckless, it means being intentional. Death taught me how deeply we fear saying goodbye, not just to people, but to versions of ourselves. We cling to identities that no longer serve us because we're afraid of who we'll be without them. But letting go is part of the cycle. Every time I shed a belief that no longer fit, I came back to life a little more. Every time I forgave myself, I felt lighter. Death teaches you that change is not loss. It's a kind of rebirth. And the people who truly live are the ones who are not afraid to keep dying to the old version of themselves. They evolve. They don't just age, they grow. They simplify. They learn that peace isn't found in having more, but in needing less. Death strips life down to its essence, and in that simplicity there is truth. I've also learned that gratitude is one of the most radical responses to mortality. Knowing that none of this lasts, that every sunrise, every breath, every friend is temporary, makes you appreciate it more, not less. Gratitude to me is not a warm feeling, it's a practice. It's how I greet each morning, even with my stiff knees and fading memory. It's how I talk to my grandchildren, aware that one day they'll remember how I made them feel. Gratitude is not pretending everything is perfect. It's saying, even this, I'm lucky to witness. And the older I get, the more I realize that joy is not something that just happens. It's something we learn to notice. It's small, subtle, and always available to those who look for it. Another lesson death gave me is the importance of forgiveness, not for the sake of others, but for your own freedom. I held on to resentment for years, thinking it was power, but it was only poison. As people began to disappear from my life, either by choice or by fate, I saw how heavy grudges are to carry. They weigh down your soul, steal your sleep, and crowd your heart. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that life is too short to keep reopening old wounds. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing. It means choosing not to let the past own your future. It means choosing peace over being right. And the older I get, the more I crave peace. And then there's the silence, the space that death leaves behind. At first it's unbearable, a kind of emptiness that echoes, but eventually that silence becomes sacred. It becomes a teacher. In that stillness you start to hear your own heart again. You remember what matters. You realize how noisy the world is and how little of it actually matters. Death showed me the importance of solitude, not as isolation, but as communion with yourself. In the silence, I've written letters to people I've lost. I've cried without apology. I've smiled at nothing. I've sat with my memories, letting them rise and fade like waves. And I've realized that grief doesn't end. It becomes a companion. But if you let it, it will walk you back to life, softer and more aware. Living fully, then, is not about chasing constant highs. It's about being deeply awake. Awake to your breath, your blessings, your relationships. Awake to your time. It's realizing that every person you love is temporary, and choosing to love them anyway, fiercely and without hesitation. It's realizing that your body, your youth, your opportunities will change, and deciding to live as if that makes life more beautiful, not less. To live fully is to risk heartbreak, to speak honestly, to be kind without being a doormat, to rest without guilt, and to give without always expecting. What death ultimately taught me is this: life isn't long, but it can be wide, it can be deep, it can be meaningful, but only if you stop numbing, stop rushing, stop waiting. Every breath is a beginning, every conversation a chance, every moment sacred. And you don't need to wait until a funeral to remember that. You can choose it now. Live like it matters, because it does. Live like it ends, because it will. But most of all, live like you were never promised another chance, because you weren't. So if you've stayed with me this far, let me say this: thank you. Thank you for giving me a few precious moments of your time, because I know how limited time really is. That's what this whole message has been about, not waiting for life to give you permission to live. Not letting fear, pride or regret run the show. Not letting the noise of the world drown out the quiet voice inside you saying, there's more to feel, more to notice, more to be grateful for. Death isn't the end of the conversation. It's the reason we have one. It's the invisible clock that makes every second count. And yet, most of us live like we'll never run out. But let me tell you, the most alive I've ever felt came in the moments when I accepted how temporary this all is. That's when joy becomes deeper. That's when love becomes urgent. That's when forgiveness starts to feel like freedom, not defeat. Maybe today is the day you stop holding back. Maybe this is the video that nudges you to call that person you miss, or to finally write that letter to someone you never got to say goodbye to. Or maybe it's just the sign you needed to slow down and watch the sunlight fall on your kitchen table and whisper to yourself, this is enough. I'm here. I'm alive. If this resonated with you, don't just click away and forget it. Sit with it. Reflect. Talk to someone you love about what you heard, and if you feel compelled, share this video with someone who might need it. We're not alone in this journey, just often too afraid to speak about what really matters. But here in this space we speak about life, loss, love and truth. And finally, if you want more reflections like this, if you're drawn to wisdom, depth and living intentionally, subscribe to the channel. This isn't just a place for content. It's a space for connection, for remembering what we too easily forget. Until next time, take care of your heart, be gentle with your days, and don't wait to live fully. The time is always now.